Hi Gina.
Hi Ione, hi everyone. I'm Gina, the senior editor of Polyester.
And I'm Ione, the founding editor-in-chief of Polyester, and this is the Polyester Podcast, a feminist pop culture podcast dissecting the discourse on a weekly basis.
Before we start, we've just relaunched our membership platform to include loads of new perks, including exclusive podcast-centered ones. We're now offering exclusive video episodes, secret mini episodes, and even episodes centered on what you want us to talk about across different tier options. Go check it out at the link in our description. And if you haven't yet, please make sure to like, rate, subscribe, and review. Do we have any reviews, Ione?
The best podcast around, IDST, and we googled before, and what does IDST? If destroyed, still true, apparently.
I was wondering why you were asking me about that. I didn't realise it was on this.
This is by SP Fawn in the UK. Truly the best podcast out there. The high-low for people who went to state school. Facts. Ione and Gina, always so interesting and well-considered analysis of societal phenomena, as well as being able to laugh at themselves and enjoy guilty pleasures without the guilt. 2025 goal to attend a Polyester event.
Oh, can't wait to see where.
We've got a live pod we're going to announce soon next month.
Hell motherfucking yeah.
Thank you so much. And then on Spotify comments, Antonio Lozano said, it definitely sounded like Gina said, this is about last week's episode, it couldn't be me anymore. Thanks for clarifying. Knew it.
Also,
She's acting like I was so out of order for that as well.
No, I wasn't. And also the podcast transcription on Apple Podcasts also thinks that I said that.
You're trying to rewrite history here. You're acting like, what?
What?
Yeah. And then Hal said the word you're looking for is spouse, which is very true.
Smiley face.
Sometimes I have a lack of memory.
Well, I think partner also works.
We didn't say partner though. We were just like, we don't know.
No, you're rewriting history. We said that. Okay, what we're talking about. Well, to be honest, I want to set the scene for you. I only walked into the studio on Monday morning. We were like, what should we do a podcast episode on? And then she went, you know what I want to talk about? I went, hit me. She went, how not everything's a recession indicator. I went, I couldn't agree with you more. And now I've read the research, I still couldn't agree with you more.
And we took it to the chat and they agreed. And you should join the chat if you're not on the chat.
Join our WhatsApp chat.
Yeah.
Be a member, baby. Recession indicator not being a Polyester member.
It was between recession indicator and everyone being weird about Lord's gender journey, as they call it.
Are they?
No, but I'm saying like they're saying they're on a gender journey, so I'm giving both pronoun options.
That's nice.
But also loads of people are also saying Lord non-binary era is a recession indicator.
Yeah, someone said
which is not a recession indicator.
Lord writing about MD and not weed, recession indicator.
Why?
Because her last album was like Solar Power, which was about weed.
Yeah.
And then the album before that she's talking about taking MDMA and ecstasy.
There wasn't a recession in the last when Melodrama was out though.
Well, I think that's what the problem with this whole shebang is people are just calling anything a recession indicator when they just mean 10 to 15 years ago. Yeah.
I mean, Melodrama wasn't even that long ago, was it? It was 2016. That's 9 years ago.
As if you just remembered when that album came out.
It might have even been 2017, to be honest. I think it was. Let me see.
It's a masterpiece either way.
Well, yeah, it was very seminal in my life. Yeah, it came out 2017, so that's 8 years ago.
Wow, she's really pumping them out, isn't she?
Well, no, it's like one album every 4 years, I think, because Solar Power was 2021.
Solar Power was 2021?
Yeah.
God, you're like a fucking encyclopedia.
Lord
this
historian.
isn't even in the research, she just knows.
No, yeah. I really like Lord.
Lord Scott.
I do have thoughts on this era. Anyway.
Maybe we can do it next week if it carries on.
So I was sick of seeing recession indicator for fucking everything under the sun. So, for example, Lena Dunham writes a New Yorker essay. Someone tweets, the most recession indicator to ever a recession indicator. Even though it's Lena Dunham writing an essay, Why I Broke Up with New York, which is literally like, this is a bad faith reading, but just let me have it. The crux of it is there's too many like poor people in New York. I live in Hampstead Heath now in London and it's much nicer.
I've not read it, but that's crazy. Did she mention Wales in it?
Yeah, of course she does. Like that is a bad faith reading, but she's like, I grew up so scared as a child. I saw a man inject himself on St. Mark's Place and never wanted to leave the house again. It's like, okay.
So did the rest of us. I just wasn't in fucking private school at the time.
Anyway, we're not actually talking about the Lena Dunham essay today, which I thought was rubbish. Sorry, Lena Dunham. I hope you don't listen, and I doubt you do. And then Snooki from Jersey Shore was spotted in a club falling off a couch. Someone tweeted, okay, the biggest recession indicator of them all, which I guess is more accurate than the Lord one. And then someone tweeted Tyler's last year Met Gala look, which was like that sand sculpted dress, next to this year's Met Gala look, which was like a similar dress but pinstripe, saying crazy work going from this to this, recession indicator. I don't know. I think they were just trying to say the Met Gala look this year is bad.
I seen someone say, like, because they were like, well, people played it safe this year by being on theme. But I'm like, no, I think the theme was just easy to understand. And like...
No, I think people are scared of doing the theme wrong. Because it's more politically, like, loaded.
Yeah, that's definitely true. But then people were like, people playing it safe at the Met Gala, recession indicator.
These people don't, like...
That's just words. What do you mean?
And also, like, these people have no concept of money.
Yeah,
like, I think there's other recession indicators we can look at the Met Gala. But again, you know my disdain for, like, fashion Twitter. They don't they don't actually look at anything that... So, for example, like, so many people didn't have tables at the Met Gala, like loads of fashion houses. That is more of a recession indicator than the fact that Tyler wore a real fabric.
Yeah, literally.
So some Jeffrey Campbell liters were spotted in a shop window, and someone tweeted the recession indicator final boss just dropped. And then someone else tweeted that you can now afterpay on Cash App, recession indicator.
I think that's probably a true one.
Someone tweeted Anna Wintour caught laughing in a joyous mood at the Met Gala as recession indicator. True. I thought this one was kind of interesting, but also probably just bullshit. So, you know, Twitter is just, we've spoken about this before, Twitter is literally just like sludge content now.
Yeah.
Like 30-second crafts, and like, I saw one yesterday. You know, like, we've already said this to each other, how they're clipping films and then putting them out of context.
Yeah.
I saw a baby girl one. And it was like, he tried to flirt with his boss. I was like,
you'll never guess what happened next.
Anyway, this is someone like repairing a hole in their jeans with a stitch, and someone says, I've been seeing more legitimate DIY tutorials from the algorithm recently, recession indicator, by the way. These aren't legitimate tutorials.
Especially because when you actually click on the video, they're using fucking string cheese instead of string. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's some fucking weird fetish hack added to the mix to make it not
exactly.
It's like when people make those flip-flops out of the fucking 3D pens and people are like, recession indicator.
What do you mean?
I don't know anyone with a 3D pen, let alone affording one in a recession.
I know you'd love a 3D pen.
No, I seen one in Tiger last week and I was like,
You should have bought it. Why didn't you buy it?
What the fuck am I going to make with a 3D pen?
I don't know, but I'd like to see it.
See me mucking about with it.
A recession indicator, Gina not buying a 3D pen in Tiger.
Honestly.
So then someone else tweeted as well, like a scam text that was like, hello, my name is Alison from the Human Resources team of Angel Lists. We've recently reviewed your resume and think you'd be a great fit for a remote online opportunity we have available. And then someone said, recession indicator is the scams offering jobs instead of free money. I mean, I've always had jobs once.
What?
Maybe there's like, I always get job scams.
No, they're quite new to me.
It's like, earn money from home, that vibe. Like, I feel like this has been going on for like 10 years.
Maybe they've only just hit America.
Ashley Reese, friend of the pod, said, not Pob.
Pob? Do you know who Pob is?
No.
I'll show you later.
So, Popcrave tweeted a flash mob to Doechie's song Anxiety occurred in LA, and Ashley Reese said flash mobs are definitely a recession indicator. And then obviously, because it's Ashley, everyone dogpiled her. And she said, I love how this person used some AI, because someone was like, someone then fed it into Grok and was like, is this true? And Grok said, wrong. While a flash mob itself isn't a direct indicator of a recession, the reasons behind a flash mob could potentially offer some subtle clues about economics. And then she quoted it like, I love how this person used some AI chatbot to figure out if flash mobs were truly a recession indicator. The only reason I said this was because A, the last time this shit was popular was around 2007, 2008, and B, it's funny.
Well, I think her point B is the crux of the matter. People are just saying it because it's a meme. It's not really... Like, they're trying to find, like, the niche silliest thing to add, this is a recession indicator to.
I actually don't believe that.
Why?
I think people are serious.
It's serious. There's a bit in the research from a CNN article by Leah Asmelash called On Social Media, Everything from Lady Gaga to Knee-High Converse sneakers is a recession indicator. And in that, she's kind of noted, being like, onlookers have noted for years that the lines between sincerity and irony are blurring. In today's social media obsessed world, the memification machine works around the clock, as worries mount AI making jobs obsolete, the continuing climate crisis, inability to own a home, etc. It all becomes too much to bear, and when people have given up, a source says, everything becomes a joke.
Yeah, so the article always says, what's new now is the current social media landscape, which essentially mass marketed these jokes, made them accessible to everyone all the time. By simply being online, you're likely engaging in these jokes whether you want to or not. You see them on TikTok, you might send one to a friend, and later you might even reference it in a real conversation. And so the cycle turns. Rather than grappling with the hard questions of living, it all becomes a meme, which I think is really true as well, because realistically, I would say most people in the world don't have an advanced understanding of economics. And I include myself in this. Yeah. So I feel like one way that obviously we measure whether we're doing well or not is by these things like, can you buy a coffee? Can you go out? Can you do this? Like someone made a TikTok that was basically like, oh, I know we're in a recession because like me and my friends are wishing for normal things. Like we're not wishing for like a Goyard bag anymore. We're just wishing to get our hair done. Yeah. And so I think that that's natural and normal. But I think something that worries me is it's kind of like treating the situation with kid gloves. Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like by making jokes out of everything, it allows the people that like control the economy and like especially Trump with like tariffs and stuff, and also our government as well, like with all the stuff we've spoken about before, like disability cuts, like all of these things, it allows them to kind of get away with it because we're treating the economy as like this force that we have no control over, or like that's just something that happens to us and that we are passive in. Do you know what I mean? Or that like we can't improve our situation or improve the world, which it feels like a lot of the time. So we'll just make like our jokes, and it kind of feels like a bit of like an extension of the whole girl math trend. And it's not just girls that do this, but it feels like one of those like arguments against those trends, which is like by dumbing it down, we are just subconsciously dumbing ourselves down as well.
I don't know though, if you're saying that people don't understand the economy, so this is the access for them to be able to discuss it.
Yeah, but we're not discussing it because none of these things tangibly make a difference. Like whether Jeffrey Campbell leaders are coming back, like all of these things, as we've already said, don't even like actually align when actual recessions were. And like in the research, it says that the UK was in a recession in 2023 and that America hasn't even entered a recession yet, that there was like a recession in the early stages of COVID-19, 2020 in the US, and then the Great Recession in 2007 to 2009, like the financial crash. Apart from that, we haven't had a recession. So like in actual economic terms. So the reality is that like we came out of the 2007 to 2009 recession, and realistically our material conditions have just been decreasing since then, like worse. There's never been like people always talk about this like great upswing, but there's been no great upswing because like 2009, I mean it's a bit earlier than when we entered the job market in around 2012, and there was no prospects then either. Like things are just materially getting worse, and I feel like nostalgia is getting caught up in this recession conversation, and like also around Brat Summer and like this hedonism thing, and like people making these parallels to like the 20s Great Depression and like post-war, and like trying to spin it into these things where like, you know, creativity comes at a time of economic hardship, or like partying comes at a times of economic hardship, when really we're just being like throttled by right-wing governments and nothing's getting better and things are more expensive all the time.
Wow, that was really poignant. I can't. No, I think you really summed up what I wanted to say. Okay, let's have a break. We're back from the break.
Any thoughts on that?
Well, I just wanted to leave it on that note, to be honest, because it was really powerful. I think I've just put a thought in my head that when a recession might mean that in governmental terms or big bank terms or big economy terms, and have these like really specific things that mean it's a recession and mean that it's not. But realistically, whenever a recession happens, people don't recover from it really for like years and years and years. Like during a recession, I remember like during the cost of living crisis, people were talking about this, like all the prices will go up on all these groceries. They're not going to really go back down to what they were before. They
No,
might
because
go down...
then the companies will just profit more and keep it, because like we've got what's it called, like the Overton window has widened, and we accept that certain things cost things.
Exactly. We're all like, oh, well, isn't it terrible? I remember when butter cost that much, but it's never going to go back to costing that much unless it's on like big Asda sale and people have to like trawl through the fucking voucher websites to find when they can afford butter again. Like it's just that thing where something happens that feels so unfeasibly far away from you but then they tell you that that's like, oh, the recession's over, like we can all celebrate now. It's in the news being like, the recession's over, the pound is up by 0.2%, but realistically, like my landlord just put the rent up. Like what difference does it actually make to me that the legitimate terms of what a recession is have changed?
Should we go through what actual recession indicators are?
Yeah, go on.
So the term recession indicator wasn't like coined by any specific person or whatever, but it emerged from the need for economists to identify and track economic downturns in a more timely manner than official recession declarations. So they began using various data points like unemployment rate to gauge economic health, eventually leading to the development of specific recession indicators like the SARM rule and the SOS recession indicator. Don't know what either of those things are, by the way. So different types of indicators include inverted yield curve. Don't know what that is, but apparently it's the yield curve normally slopes upwards, meaning long-term bonds have higher yields than short-term bonds. An inverted yield curve where long-term yields are lower than short-term yields can signal economic slowdown and potential recession. Stock market decline. I feel like that's what we're like used to seeing, like stock market things or like graphs that we don't know what they mean.
Yeah, definitely, like with all the like percentages next to them and stuff.
Claims of joblessness, which I feel like have existed since 2007. Like it feels like unemployment rates are always getting worse. It feels like, especially like we don't know the ins and outs of American job market, I'd say, but in the UK, like I feel like it's what's it called? Like a permanent image on the news of seeing people like lining up for the job centre and stuff.
Oh, 100%. Like that's never, I can't imagine there being a time where that's not been the news. Like I can't remember.
Industrial production, which is a decline in manufacturing.
Which is going to happen because of the Trump
tariffs. Yeah,
like,
exactly.
He's manufacturing
forced recession, 100%. Real retail sales. So people buying less stuff, obviously. And then one that I thought was interesting, especially for people that live in cities, is building permits. So a decrease in the number of building permits issued can signal a decline in construction activity and a potential recession. And all of this is to say, because on my road, it's like all completely getting redeveloped. End of my road, they knocked down a community centre and tarmacked over a park like a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, to build new builds. Got sent a picture today from Kate, who lives around the corner from me, and they've just taken down all the construction signs and put grass back over it. Must have been cancelled. I was like, well,
what the fuck have they?
That's a recession indicator.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
But to be honest, do we need any more new builds?
No, of course not, because these flats are sitting empty, but...
It's a fucking Ponzi scheme.
But then also, it's kind of worse in that case. Like, obviously, construction industry is so fucked anyway, but loads of the developments around me in general are to, like, replace council houses that have been ripped down. So it's like, so those council houses just not existing anymore.
Well, no, they're fucking... The amount of council housing in this country just keeps going, like, less and less and less and less.
Mm-hmm. So then there's something called coincident indicators, such as unemployment rates and GDP growth, which reflect the current state of the economy, which is unemployment rate, GDP growth decline, industrial production, and real retail sales. And then there's lagging indicators, which confirm a recession after it has already occurred, which is like a debt service ratio, which is more people are like paying off debt than like it's like tilted how much you make versus how much you have to pay off in debt, slowing in wage growth and number of business failures. And then also other indicators are like inflation, and they say, well, inflation isn't a direct recession indicator. High inflation can be a symptom of a broader economic slowdown and can be accompanied by rising interest rates, which can also be a recession indicator, which is something I wish I understood because they talk about it on the news all the time, but I don't.
Inflation's like the stuff Cost of stuff becoming more, isn't it?
No, yeah, but I don't understand how that relates to anything else.
Neither.
Yeah, exactly.
I was going to try and bullshit an answer, but no.
So there's just like so many actual things that really do point to that we're like in the rough times. So I read this out yesterday. This is from Recession Indicators Are Everywhere. Here's What's Real and Here's What's a Joke by Catherine White on CNET. So people are thinking twice about buying houses. In March, roughly 52,000 home purchase agreements were cancelled in the US, which is more than 13% of all accepted offers.
That's crazy.
It was also that 25% of consumers are using buy now, pay later for their groceries.
So fucked up. Even people, like, the way that they're even advertising that as an option is so fucked up. Like, you see adverts for, like, Domino's, and then part of the advert is like, oh, don't wait till payday to get this pizza for dinner. You can just pay for it later or in installments. It's like, sorry, mate, can't go out. I'm paying for my pizza that I got 2 months ago. The payments just come out for my fucking chicken.
Didn't Alex do that once? Alex Ogden, friends of the pod.
It's probably happened to me, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's fucking, I always do it on PayPal because it takes like 4 days to come out your account. Anyway, recession hack. PayPal takes 4 days to come out your account. But...
And they do pay in free.
The pay in free thing is also like a massive recession indicator, how that's kind of been like girl bossed into being like how you can afford things, when really like poor people were just doing that the whole time through like Argos credit cards.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like these things have always happened, and I think it's just like maybe hypocritical of what I said earlier, in that like I do think it's good that people have like more general awareness of like the times are bad, but I just think what we've been saying is that like our acceptability for just like misery and struggle is so high now because we've been living in it basically our whole adult lives.
I think like on a more hopeful take of it is that I think it might be like people trying to do, remember like web weaving, when people were like doing those dumps of like really emotional quotes from like books and poems and like screenshots from telly, and then like sharing it with their mates to be like, this is how I feel about you. I feel like people are beginning to try and start doing that about like recession stuff.
What do you mean?
Like
Wait, explain.
They're gonna share like being like, this is recession indicator, this is recession indicator, and then I've seen people even being like, oh, I used to go for coffee every day and now I can't. I used to do this every day and now I can't. Like you said, like that one being like, oh, I used to dream of having a Goyard bag and now I dream of fucking affording the bus by the end of the week. Like being more like blatantly honest about struggling with money, I think is
not a bad thing.
Not a bad thing. I think the more people are like open about it, the more it will like hopefully eventually turn to people actually going to the government being like, why the fuck is this happening? Why aren't we being served? Why aren't we being helped? Why are people... Because I was listening to the radio today, and Keir Starmer's about to announce, probably has already announced after this goes live, about to announce like they've done a deal on the tariffs with Trump for steel and cars, and they're predicting, so we'll see if this has actually happened on Monday, they're predicting that he's going to drop the tariff, the 2% tariff that UK charges big tech companies to get this over the line. And it's like, right, so we're trying to negotiate the economy to benefit really massive companies that can stand to lose that. And like the amount that 2% brings in is like 800 million. But nobody's actually caring to give a fuck about the people at the bottom of the pile who... No
one gives a fuck. Like, it's all a game
the
to them.
When it's a recession.
That's the thing. Like, recessions just mean that, like, rich people can stay rich and poor people just get way poorer.
And they stay poorer because, like we said, like, you don't recover from a recession when you're poor.
No, of course you don't. It's, like, all just a game to rich people and politicians and all of these things. Like, and plus all of the... It makes sense that Keir Starmer will be dropping them on big tech, because how many ex-politicians have we seen in this country like wander off into big tech jobs afterwards, like fucking Nick Clegg with Facebook?
Literally. And the thing is like, so many politicians just don't want to be the prime minister who... We want to be the prime minister who got us through a recession. Boris was the prime minister who got us through COVID. Like, people want to have like that...
Like a legacy,
that tick next to their name. And for Keir, it's very clearly he wants to be the one who like got us out of a recession. And the stats in the doc, like when you're looking at like the UK stats for recession, it's like, oh, we're actually like the Bank of England reports that we're 1.2% better than like predicted, and everyone's supposed to like fucking celebrate. But at the end of the day, by the end of the month, like I'm in like 300 quid credit card debt because of the fucking cost of everything.
But I also think, back to like stupid recession indicators, there's like a dark part of this trend that is, like Charlotte brought this up, getting like caught up in the nostalgia wave for indie sleaze, and that it's just like Gen Z learning what the passage of time is.
Oh yeah, learning that things cost money now.
But no, not
like,
even
if you're
that.
a student and you've got a loan and that's paid for XYZ, and the loans aren't even as good as they used to be.
I don't even mean that. I mean like they're remembering things from when they were like young and are being like, yeah, I wanted a pair of knee-high Converse. Oh, and I also remember my mum couldn't pay the mortgage. And it's like cycled up in this weird like nostalgia wave where it's like, I had less worries then, so it must have been better in some weird way. And it's like, no. Your parents just weren't telling you that things were actually fucked in the head.
It's also funny that like recession has become like a term like indie sleaze, basically.
No, exactly. And
like
it's like meant to,
core.
and like for some, it's somehow become like caught up in this weird thing that we have like more freedom or whatever. And this, sorry, not to be a hater, links back to the Lena Dunham essay, because I saw loads of people quote tweeting it being like, Lena's right, like you used to be able to live in New York and have a coffee shop job. Or like work at a bar for 2 nights a week and then be creative. I read that essay front to back. Never once does she talk about working, because guess what? Lena Dunham's never had to have a real job. So what the fuck are you on about? Like,
she wrote that she did that in Girls because guess what? Fiction.
Yeah, exactly.
Totally fictional.
Exactly. Like, and she doesn't talk about that in the essay at all. Like, it's literally not. She talks about her mum being like a busybody, basically. But the ways in which she describes her mum being a busybody is she's like, she gets her flowers from one place, her meat from another, and her like vegetables from another place.
Oh, so she's got the time to go.
No, exactly. That's what the point is. That's what the point is that like her mum's like a city woman that like loves to like excavate the best things from all the different places and like artfully put them together. And it's like, that's not indicative of someone that's struggling. And she's never saying she's struggling in it. So this isn't a like diss, you know, this isn't to put Lena Dunham down, but then like everyone kind of
is the reaction to it,
molding it into this thing that's like, oh, New York's changed. It's like cities have been like untenable for a lot of people, but a lot of people still make it work. Like we have to remember that the majority of people that live in cities are working class people, working service jobs, native to the cities, like working bar, restaurant, cleaning jobs, all of these things. Like they're the people that actually make the city run, not like other people.
Also, I'm sorry, it's a tale as old as time to be like, the city ain't what it used to be.
No, yeah, exactly. And it's just Lena Dunham's version of that. And her version is that she's come to an equally hostile city that's London.
But she lives next to a park.
But she lives next to a park. In a detached house, not in a loft in Soho.
All right, girl. Congrats on not having to like walk up the steps anymore.
No, genuinely. And she's like, I just feel so much safer there. Like there was a man pissing in my front garden and I felt comfortable telling him to piss off. Yeah, because your house is worth 3 million. Like,
you probably sent out your husband to do it anyway.
Oh, exactly. Okay, anyway. With that, we'll wrap this up before it becomes a Lena Dunham hate account.
Thank you, Emily.
Thank you, Gina. Thank you to Zakia for the research and Charlotte for the sound tech and Olivia for the edit.
And thank you all for listening. We'll see you next week.
We'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.